Hey, loves, it's your girl Mariah Sincere, and I am back with another bomb live. Y'all, if you can hear some music in the background, they are partying. There was a game here in Medellin today, and it sounds like their team won, whoever is outside partying, because they're having a great time. So I apologize. It is what it is. I'm sorry. Hopefully I can drown out the noise. With that said, I do apologize for being a little bit late today. I had to get it together, y'all. I cannot come on this camera looking any kind of way. I gotta make it do what it do. With that said, guys, let's talk about it. It's a whole lot of going on. So yesterday, Donald Trump announced that there was a ceasefire deal between Iran and Israel, that they had agreed to stop fighting. And everybody rushed to judgment. Now, I'm not one of those people who thinks that Donald Trump was lying. I think that the conversation he had with Israel and the conversation he had with Iran, I really do believe he was under the impression that they were going to stick to the ceasefire agreement. I don't know what was said behind the scenes. Okay. So I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, Donald Trump was lying or he's just trying to take credit for something. No, I genuinely believe that Donald Trump does not want to be involved in a war with Iran. I wholeheartedly believe that. I don't think he stands to benefit. What's up, D Mally? Good to see you. If y'all are just now coming in, please hit the like button. I don't think Donald Trump stands to benefit. I don't think he wants it. He ran on an anti-war campaign. However, Israel does what it wants to do. And like I said, for whatever reason, I feel like they have something on us. Now, remember, I told y'all last time I got on live that it's possible that the Israeli government threatens. It doesn't necessarily have to be that they have these politicians on tape. Maybe they're threatening their lives and threatening their family members and have the ability to take them out. We don't know that. Well, thank God for Miss Kim Iverson. Y'all know I love her channel. I'm going to roll the tape. She broke it to us that Israel threatened the leaders in Iran and told them they was going to take out them and their whole family. This is the stuff they do. And I'm sorry again for all of y'all who are like evangelical Christians. Again, I respect Christianity. I respect everybody's religion, but for those of y'all who feel like we should be supporting these antics of Israel due to biblical prophecies, again, y'all got to remember that in the Bible, and I went through this 2 lives ago, it says that the people that they're talking about are a peaceful and unsuspecting people when they get attacked from the north and God has to intervene. This is not giving peace. This is giving gangster mafia. And I'm not talking about Jewish people. I'm not an anti-Semite. I'm talking about the government. I'm specifically talking about Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu. So everybody rushed to judgment yesterday. Again, I feel like when the ceasefire was announced, people rushed to judgment and were like, oh, Trump's just trying to take credit. But then I also feel like on the right, everybody kind of like was like rushing to judgment too. Like people were like, okay, yeah, there's not going to be any war. We were wrong. And again, it's just Israel never really honors their ceasefire agreements, right? So I decided that instead of coming on yesterday, that I was going to sit back and watch. I was going to see what happened. And lo and behold, Israel is back on the BS. Now, let me be clear, because in the title of this live, I posed the question, am I still in support of Donald Trump? Yes, absolutely, of course, because I'm trying to picture Kamala Harris handling this in my mind, and she couldn't even handle basic questions when she was on the campaign trail. So I absolutely do not think that that is the person that should be in office. I genuinely do believe that Trump is irritated that they won't come to the table. Hey, Javis Streamer. Yeah, what's up? Yeah, we up, D Malley. We up. Y'all, this is one of my day ones. Trump has said that he wants to be the president of peace. He wants peace and was very disappointed that they went against the agreed ceasefire. Yeah, he don't want to deal with this. He had other plans and agendas that he wanted to be focused on at home, right? But Israel is Benjamin Netanyahu is set on dragging us into this war. Point blank, period. Period. He wants full out war. He wants full out regime change. Donald Trump is saying he doesn't want regime change. He just wants to come to a deal. But at the same time, we can't control everything, guys. And that's why I say I still support Donald Trump, because at the end of the day, no president is going to be perfect. And I judge people based off of their intentions and are you trying? If a president is on the campaign trail, it's gonna be because, again, we have a system of checks and balances in this country. We have 3 branches of government, so they're not gonna be able to do everything they said they're gonna do. But what I want to see is that you're actually fighting for it and putting forth the effort, that you're not just talking about it, that when you get into the office, you're being about it and you're fighting for it and you're putting people in position that are going to fight for it. Man, honestly and truly, I can't think of any president in my time that has came into office and has done so much in so little time. I'm going to say that. Whether or not he can get the rest of his agenda done, that is yet to be seen. But this whole Israel thing is a distraction. The American people don't want it, and we don't want to pay for it. And I think Donald Trump knows that. Even though he tries to save face, he knows that. He knows majority of his base isn't going for it. He knows the Democrats are not going to go for it because they don't like him. Even though the hypocritical thing about this situation is that a lot of them were supporting the war with Ukraine and Russia. So, like, my whole thing is, what's the difference? Now, I don't think we should be supporting either of those wars. But again, they're not gonna want to support. Like, I promise you, if this was Kamala in office, and she would probably be more so calling for war, because that's just how she get down. She'll do it for a check. Bands will make her dance. We already know how she gives it up. Um, but I'm sure if this was the other way around and Kamala came to them with a good reason why we should be involved over there, they'd be rooting that on, just like they were rooting that situation in Ukraine on. I'm consistent. I'm not with none of it. Okay. We have dealt with the Ukraine-Russia war for the last few years. We don't need another one. And so much of our tax dollars were laundered via that situation. It's ridiculous. Honestly and truly, I can't see how any of the representatives who voted to send them money are still in office. Okay, we should have been got them out. So anyway, I'm going to pull up a couple of clips. Oh, before I get into that, this is something I want to share with y'all before I really just get into the whole Iran situation. This was a big story a couple months ago, and y'all know I did a couple videos on it, and I've been consistent about it. Now, I don't know if y'all remember this, but in Texas, where I'm from, in Allen, Texas, not too far from Dallas, it's like a county over in Collin County, a young boy was unalived in cold blood at a track meet. And the story went viral and it divided the nation. Why did it divide the nation? Well, the boy who did the unaliving is a black boy, and the boy who was unalived was white. And I feel like had race, we didn't know these kids' race, had race not been involved, anybody who was listening to the story and how the people that were there were saying it went down would have unequivocally said that the boy who did the stabbing needed to go to jail. For whatever reason, this got racialized, this got politicized. a lot of false information got put out there. And y'all know I went through the police report with y'all on this channel. And let me be clear, my mother is Black. I was raised primarily on my Black side and Black and Hispanic neighborhoods. So this is not a situation where I am like, this is not a situation where I'm trying to put the Black child down. When I was raised, this is a suburban child. I was raised in much worse environments than he probably ever was, right? And I've had majority great experiences with cops, and I've had a couple bad ones, but overall, you know, what I'm trying to say is I don't look at stuff like this through the lens of race. It's like right and wrong. So I saw this on Benny Johnson's page on Instagram, and it says breaking: Carmelo Anthony has been indicted by a grand jury for first-degree unaliving in the stabbing unaliving of Austin Metcalf. I'm trying not to say the M word, y'all. I don't know if I can say that. Unaliving is a first-degree felony offense that, upon conviction, carries a punishment range of 5 to 99 years or life in a Texas prison and an optimal fine not to exceed $10,000. You know, this is a very sad, unfortunate event. I hate that, you know, people have a right to, everybody has a right to defense, but I hate the reason why people donated to Carmelo Anthony. Like, if you were going to give because you feel like people have a right to a great defense. Don't give because you feel like you're happy that somebody did this to a white child, right? Because the whole situation was stupid. The whole situation should have just been a fight and we move on like we used to do in school. And it has been put out there that the police have video and that no actual blows were even traded. And Austin Metcalf's father said that months ago. So this is not a conviction. A grand jury has indicted him. It doesn't take much for an indictment, right? Based on the witness testimony that was in the police reports, anybody could have told you that he was going to be indicted. So, you know, unless he takes a plea deal, he's going to trial. And, you know, I don't see, if I was him, I would take a plea deal. Personally, I would not want to take this to trial because this is Texas. The laws on self-defense are very clear, and there ain't no way. There ain't no way he's getting off. It just is what it is. So, you know, some of y'all might not like that I'm saying that. A lot of y'all might feel like he was justified in unaliving another child because you think that somebody should if somebody did, let's say he did punch him, you feel like that justifies being stabbed in the heart. That's weird to me, but okay, whatever. Like, this is what I'm trying to say. Stop looking at everything through the lens of race. What if it were your child? Okay. So anyway, moving right along. So I want to pull up a clip of Donald Trump that I have on the Shade Room. Give me a second. Y'all, I say way too much stuff. Okay, this was from Officer Tatum's page. Hold on, give me a second. Let me put my headphones on. Cannot hear anything. Oh, I don't have my headphones plugged in. That's why.
Ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
So if y'all can't hear what the reporter she's asking, she was like, hold on. Let me go back. Let me start it over because I don't even remember what she said. I lost my train of thought that quickly.
Says that Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
I like that. So this reporter asked, do you believe that Iran violated the peace treaty? And Donald Trump could have been like, yeah, it's all them. They violated the peace treaty. But you can tell he's pissed at Benjamin Netanyahu because he said, yeah, and Israel violated it too. Good job. Come on now. Good job. Way to fight back. Way to stand up. Yes. I know he's sick and tired of them folks over there, okay?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before.
Oh, do y'all hear him tell them the truth? Thank you, Donald Trump. I got to give credit where credit is due because he could have came on here spewing propaganda and making it seem like it's all Iran's fault. He said Israel dropped bombs of the likes that I've never seen before.
The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Right. See, that's the Gemini in Trump, baby. When we want to make a point and when we're fed up, we make ourselves very plain. Okay, you gonna hear our mouth. You gonna hear what we got to say. So I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I don't think, again, if Kamala Harris was in office, I don't think that she would be telling the truth about Israel like he is. And again, I think he's tired of the BS. A part of him probably doesn't like that Iran and Israel like embarrassed him, because that is embarrassing when you're like, oh, we've come to a deal, and then not too long after that you have your supposed ally and friends dropping more bombs. But again, they are not our friends. They are trying to everything they can to drag us into this war. Okay, so you know, who needs enemies when you have friends like Israel? Okay, so another video that I wanted to show y'all, we are going to go on over to Kim Iverson's page. Shout out to her. If you don't watch her, you should. And I'm going to react to this video that she posted today. I'm not going to play the whole video because y'all know that I don't like playing an entire video of another YouTuber's, but I will react to much of it.
With this AI tool, you can turn your story into a beautifully illustrated children's book, perfectly divided
against Palestinians, not just against.
Have you ever heard content creators say, comment the word burgers below and I'll send you over something for free? And then when you comment the word burgers, you instantly receive a
Donald Trump the Nobel Peace Prize today for having brokered a ceasefire agreement, which was a very oddly worded ceasefire agreement. The reports were it allowed Israel to fire on Iran for another 12 hours and Iran had to just sit there and take it. But there were mixed reports on whether or not either side even agreed to the deal. Israel was flying planes over to bomb Iran anyway. Donald Trump had to call the dogs off with a nasty sounding tweet. They apparently turned.
I mean, honestly, I don't understand how Iran would have agreed to that. Like, why would you agree to a ceasefire agreement where the other country is allowed to bomb you for 12 hours and you can't do anything about it? Who would agree to that? So I don't know about that.
Turned most of the planes back after bombing just a satellite. And that was all that they apparently did. But now here we are. So then people said, okay, well, all right. So then it's all done.
Unless it was a situation where, like, for the image of it, you know, they get to say they bombed Iran, but like Iran tells them, okay, you can bomb here, here, and here. Like places that are not important, like in the forest where there's no civilians. And then they get to say, yes, we bombed them. We got our get backs. I don't know. That just seems extremely weird to me.
Yay, yay, yay. Nobel Peace Prize for Donald Trump. I didn't believe that this ceasefire would hold at all. The Israelis do not have a great track record. They have basically reneged on every single ceasefire agreement that they've ever brokered with anyone ever. So why would it be any different this time? Not only that, but why would Iran trust the United States to have brokered a ceasefire agreement when they were at the negotiating table thinking that they were negotiating in good faith with the nuclear arms deal and or the nuclear and or uranium, whatever you want to call that deal. And they got attacked by Israel anyway and bombed by the United States anyway.
I mean, to be fair, we didn't want Israel to bomb Iran. It was a situation where Israel did what they did. And for whatever weird reason, again, I've speculated as to why Donald Trump felt compelled to act. But I don't think he wanted to. And I think he's getting to the point that whatever that reason may be, he doesn't give a damn anymore. Especially considering the way he just answered those questions today.
Anyway, so why would they even trust it? But nonetheless, this is the news that's now pouring out over the last hour. Breaking. Israel's military chief of staff says campaign against Iran is not over. Okay, that was just an hour ago. Breaking. Iranian air defenses activated against drones.
I hope they got some money. I hope whatever it is that they want to do to Iran, I hope they have the funds to do it. And honestly, if we have any Congress members who vote to allocate funds to Israel to go towards these wars, they need to be out during the midterms. I'm not even playing about that. I hope they have the money. Fine. You want to go to war? I do not care. Pay for it. Your damn self.
Iranian media reports. So also about an hour ago. Also breaking, just in, early intelligence from the Defense Intelligence Agency suggests that recent U.S. airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities did not destroy the core of the program and likely delayed it by only a few months. So here we are.
Remember when I was reacting to that interview that J.D. Vance did, and he was asked the question, was the program obliterated? To which his answer was, well, I'm not sure what obliterated means. And I said, J.D. Vance, you playing games. You know what obliterated means. But basically, he didn't really give a direct answer as to whether or not they had ended the nuclear program. So now it's looking like that the bombing wasn't as effective as they were trying to claim it was, or they were trying to allude to what it was. Honestly and truly, I don't care if Iran gets a nuclear weapon. Maybe they need to get a nuclear weapon to keep Israel in check. It's not a big deal to me.
Back at square one. If you thought today, finally, you were going to just breathe a sigh of relief and we just evaded World War III, well, looks like we have not yet, because it looks like they're still ramping up.
Introducing Agora's conversational AI engine. Build and integrate your AI agent.
Meanwhile, I want to show you this story from the Washington Post that came out. This is horrifying and I think really showcases the terror tactics that Israel uses. And I'm not saying other countries don't use terror tactics. Perhaps Iran does as well. In fact, I know that they've used terror tactics as well. But we're not funding Iran. We're not allied with Iran. We don't call Iran our greatest ally. We don't have politicians pledging their allegiance to Iran, waving the flag and making trips and doing everything that's more beneficial for Iran than for Americans. So that is the issue. That's why we pick on Israel, not because we're anti-Semitic, but because we're funding. They are our greatest ally, and every single politician pledges allegiance to the country. So
facts. And I don't understand this faction of MAGA that continues with this narrative that if you criticize the actions of a government, not the people, because let's be clear, they were ready to get Benjamin Netanyahu up out of there. Okay. So I don't understand why it's anti-Semitic to criticize the decisions of a government. I'm not criticizing the Jewish religion, the Jewish faith, or Jewish people. I am criticizing the actions of the government. And here in the United States, we believe in separation of church and state. Israel is not a theocracy. So I don't understand how people keep conflating the two. And honestly, I think it's a mechanism that people use to try to get people to shut up because they don't have a better argument for as to why we should be supporting these antics. Guys, if y'all are just now coming in, please hit the like button and share if you care. But definitely hit the like. That helps people know that I'm on live.
Yeah, we should scrutinize who is our greatest ally. What kind of tactics do they use? Are they actually as moral and innocent as they claim to be? Because this article from the Washington Post really paints a different picture. Here it is, Israel's warning call to top Iranian general. You have 12 hours to escape. They basically threatened the generals, top Iranian generals, as well as their wives and children with death.
This is during the ceasefire, y'all. So Trump thought he was negotiating a ceasefire. And in the midst of it, after, I guess they came to whatever agreement, Israel's like, okay, we finna wild out for the next 12 hours. So they call these Iranian leaders and are like, yeah, y'all better get up out the country or I'm getting you, I'm getting your mama, your granny, your sister, your brother, your dog. That's how they came at them. Does that sound like a peaceful and unsuspecting people? Okay.
If they didn't surrender within 12 hours, creating videotape saying that they condemned the Iranian government, that they were defecting essentially, that they were, and if they did that, and if they sent that into Israel so that Israel could use it, then they could escape with their lives and the lives of their wives and children. Now, this happened shortly after Iran was attacked by Israel the first time, June 13th. So after Israel did their surprise attack where they wiped out lots of their leaders, people that were just in their sleep, they were assassinated by Israel. They then, after that, called up all of these others who would be next in.
Okay, I'm wrong. I reported that wrong. I misunderstood that. So this was not during the ceasefire. This is not the same 12 hours during the ceasefire. This is the 12 hours on June 13th. And y'all know that was when they unalived those nuclear physicists in their apartments. Like, it's crazy. They literally got these people in their apartment chilling. So, these leaders had every reason to believe that the Israelis could get to them. So let's see how they handled it.
In line to take over and basically said, do this or die. You can escape with your wife and child. Otherwise, you're a sitting duck. So here's the article. People working for Israel's security services who speak Persian, Iran's primary language, called senior Iranian officials on their cell phones and warned them that they too would die unless they ceased supporting the regime of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader, according to 3 people who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss clandestine operations. One of them estimated that more than 20 Iranians in positions of power were contacted. And one thing that ThePassportSis, who was on our show last week, and he's an Iranian expert, an Iranian Israel-U.S. relations expert, and he said the one thing to point out about this story that's, I think, the most terrifying for Israel and the United States is that though they attempted this with 20 Iranian high-up officials, not one of them seemed to have done it.
I know,
not
that's
one of
right.
them. So they're not as easy to manipulate, terrorize, and they're not the fact that none of them, that not any of the 20 actually defected, goes to show that they're much more aligned with their government, their regime, their military operations than the propaganda tells us.
And let me be clear, I'm not on, in terms of like the conflict, the issue of the nuclear weapons, I'm not really choosing sides here. I honestly don't care. I just don't want to be involved, right? But remember, I told y'all, because I've been seeing several posts on social media, like these accounts saying, oh, I'm Iranian, and we want regime change. And I don't know if y'all remember this, but I told y'all, like, you can't necessarily trust what you see on the internet, because it's possible that these are not even real people, that these are not even real accounts. And I don't know, unless I go over there and see for myself. I don't know. I don't know much about Iran. I don't speak to enough Iranians in real life to know whether or not the regime change is a real conversation. But even if it is, it's not our place to facilitate that. If the Iranian people want regime change, they need to do it their damn self. Okay, that's up to them. Just like in the United States, when our founding fathers wanted to be their own country, they had to, come get it in blood, baby. They had to take it in blood. And then they told the king, come get it back in blood. And that's exactly what went down. People shed blood over the matter. So why should anybody else be exempt from that? Why should we have to go fight their war?
Because the propaganda tells us, oh, they're on the brink of collapse all the time. They hate their government. They hate their country. And that just doesn't seem to be, I think they hate Israel and the United States even more, thinking that they're going to come in and tear apart their country and put in the former crown prince as the leader whose family terrorized the people. They want that a lot less. And Washington Post obtained the recording, actually. Let's go ahead and play a bit of the recording. It's in Persian, so you won't understand it, but I'll give you a bit of the translation. Once we just listen to a little.
So I listened to this before I got on here, like right before I got on here. This is wow. This is mafia gang tactics. I just didn't even know stuff like this went down.
A bit of it.
الو سردار سردار سلام علیکم سردار سلام علیکم داری من از کشوری زنگ زنم که 2 ساعت پیش سلامی باقری و
So he says right here, I'm calling you from a country which 2 hours ago sent Salami, Bagheri, and Shamkhani to hell. So they're saying, we killed your guys and we just sent them to hell.
The way they be talking be tripping me out. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny and I'm not trying to be Islamophobic or anything, but don't nobody read the hell out of a situation and make threats on your life the way people of the Islamic faith do. I'm gonna say that, like, don't nobody make threats that sound as scary as they do. He said we just sent those people to hell, and that's where you finna go. It's not funny, but it's a little bit like the situation isn't funny. The way that they worded it is funny, y'all. Don't think I'm laughing about a serious matter.
And now for you, and now I'm suggesting you. I think he ends up repeating all of this.
اومد رو خط بیارش رو خط الان صدامو داری؟ گوش کن من از کشوری زنگ زنم به توضیح میدم خوب گوش کن من از کشوری زنگ زنم که 2 ساعت پیش باقری سلامی شمخانی رو دونه دونه فرستاد جهنم الان تنها پیشنهادی هم که به تو میکنم.
So he says, the only advice I'm giving you right now, I can advise you now, you have 12 hours to escape with your wife and child.
میتونم بهت پیشنهاد کنم 12 ساعت وقت داری که پاتو بگیری با زن و بچت فرار کنی. وگرنه تو الان تو لیست.
Otherwise, you're on our list right now. You, all of you, one by one, are on the list that I'm looking at, and you're our next targets.
What
is what
the
he's
hell?
saying to these Iranian officials. He says, and then the Iranian official responds back, how should I send it to you? And he says, I'll send you a Telegram ID, send it. And the general apparently did not send it. In fact, none of them seem to have sent it.
So if you're just now coming in and you don't know what she's referring to, they basically wanted these leaders to make a statement denouncing the supreme leader and basically going against their own country just so they could put it out as propaganda, right? And then they're saying, if you send these, then we will let you and your family live. So that's what I'm saying. You can't really trust what's on the internet. You can't trust what Israel says. You can't trust a lot of what's being put out there because we know they deal in coercion. And when I get on here and I say there's something weird that is going on, that a lot of our politicians will not speak up against this, they go along with it lock and step. Who's to say that they have not used these exact same tactics on our politicians here in the United States? And a lot of y'all think, okay, well, it's just videos. Yeah, they might have a lot of these politicians doing stuff on videos, or they might have set them up to be in compromising situations. But it could just be as simple as them saying, I'm going to unalive you, your mama, your granny, your sister, your cousin, your dog, your pet frog. What are you going to do when a powerful nation comes at you like that?
This was Washington Post said that they did translate the Farsi, I believe is what they're speaking, into English, and the only thing that has been changed on this recording was the sound of the Israeli official's voice in order to protect his identity. That was from the person who supplied it, so it wasn't the Washington Post that did that, but it was the person. Let me see right here. It says the phone call. The individual who provided.
Shout out to the Washington Post for breaking this, because that took guts.
Provided the recording said the content of the audio was not manipulated in any way other than to mask the voice of the Israeli intelligence operative to protect his identity. And the Post obtained the Iranian general's name, but is not publishing it, and has removed his voice from the recording to conceal his identity. So both of them have been concealed in that. But this is what Israel was doing. I mean, to say, look, you've got 12 hours to leave with your wife and child, otherwise you're a target. And they were killing entire families in these terror attacks. And
right, because
this, a lot of people are,
because you have to think those nuclear physicists and leaders that got unalived on June 13th, they were in their apartments. Do y'all think they were in there alone?
say, wow, that's really sophisticated. That's pretty cool. I mean, the fact that you would do this only a couple of hours after bombing them.
What up, Peaky? Yeah, I mean, I think bully is an understatement. This is evil. And again, I'm not talking about the citizens of Israel. I'm talking about this government. I'm talking about Benjamin Netanyahu and all his cousins and them. I'm just playing. I don't know if they're his cousin. I'm talking about Benjamin Netanyahu and his lackeys. Evil. Who does this? Who threatens people's wife and children? Again, this is, I don't even think the mafia was like, there used to be a street code that you didn't touch the kids and women. You know, street people used to just deal with street people. Baby, it used to be honor amongst thieves. Israel has absolutely no respect or human decency.
And targeting some of their lead officials, taking out quite a few of their top guys in these assassinations. And this was meant to scare them. This was meant to say, if you do end up taking over for the last guy, you're on the list too. You're next. You're the next one who's going to be sent off to hell. Some people might say, yeah, this is a really amazing tactic. But a lot of us look at this and say, no, this is not typical military tactics. This is instead, this is terrorism. This is a form of terrorism. To say we are going to kill you and your wife and child, this is terrorism. And this is not the first horrifying terror tactic that Israel has used since October 7th, because we all know about the pager attack just last year when Mossad planted explosive devices in thousands of pagers distributed across Lebanon. And when detonated remotely, over 40 people were killed, 3,500 people were injured, including civilians and children. And these weren't military devices. Civilians used them. The explosions happened in homes, on sidewalks, in taxis. This wasn't a surgical strike. It was a...
She's not lying, because y'all remember I pulled up the receipts from CNN. So she's telling the truth. They're saying, because here was the narrative that Israel put out at first. Iran is worse than us because yes, we did bomb them first, but these were tactical bombs. And, you know, we hit specific targets. But when they bombed us, they hit civilians. But then CNN came and showed the footages. Shout out to Cardi B. Showed the footages of no, they like bombed apartment complexes. Civilians absolutely were unalive. There were many civilian casualties. So again, they just put out lies and propaganda, but we're supposed to believe this is of God. We're supposed to believe this is of the Lord, and that the Lord wants us to support this foolishness. That's not the kind of God that I serve. I don't know about y'all, but that's not the God I serve. I'm sorry, it's not.
Shockwave of terror delivered with the push of a button. So for all the rhetoric about democracy, about moral clarity, about self-defense, the state of Israel, both before and after its founding, has engaged in tactics that meet every definition of terrorism, targeting civilians, using fear to achieve political goals, spreading panic, sending messages through violence, and not just against Palestinians, not just against Iranians, not just against Gaza or Tehran. We're talking about British officials, U.S. presidents, scientists, and their families.
Y'all.
And the worst part about
okay, and I didn't even watch this part. I just watched the beginning of this. So now, like, the rest of this is like a first genuine reaction from me. Did I not just say that? And that's what I'm saying. What up, Jamal? Good to see you, brother. We've been so focused on, okay, maybe Israel like has something negative on all these politicians, like them doing something with minors and things like that. And from what I'm hearing, Jamal, you missed it. Kim Iverson, well, the Washington Post broke the story, but this is on Kim Iverson's channel, where Israel was basically recorded on tape threatening Iranian leaders after they had already unalived the nuclear physicists and top officials. And they were like, you have 12 hours to leave the country, or we are and get out with your children and your wife, and we are going to unalive you unless you leave, and you also send us a statement denouncing the supreme leader and the Iranian government. So basically, they were like, if you don't make this statement that we're telling you to make, we are going to unalive you and your whole family. And if y'all think this is the first time that they've done this, you're out of your mind. This is what they do. So, like I said, it could be as simple as they tell our Congress members, okay, well, if you don't vote for this, or if this bill doesn't pass, it's up for you. It's up. Let me say hi to my people. What up, Olivia? Good to see you. Hey, caramel coated cutie. Good to see you back. Hey, Olivia. Okay, I got my people in here. Please, y'all hit the like button on y'all way in here. That is so illegal under international law. That's why Benjamin Netanyahu should have been arrested. Do you understand? These are mafia tactics, and they have it on audio. That's the crazy thing. And we're supposed to get behind this, or else we're not MAGA. I've seen some people say, oh, this situation with Iran and Israel exposed who was really MAGA and who wasn't. What? So how are we supposed to be America first and then just blindly getting behind another country and basically being their bitch just because they felt like they wanted to have a war? What the heck does that have to do with an America first agenda? What does that have to do with anything that Donald Trump talked about during the campaign trail when he said he didn't want any wars? And per the clips that I showed y'all at the beginning of this live, he is clearly pissed at Israel to the point where he's publicly calling them out for their actions at this point. He's over it. Iranian leadership is much more legit than Saddam Hussein. Yeah, they don't give a damn. So they didn't leave. They stayed in the country. And you know what? That took guts, because they had just seen, oh, they unalived our nuclear. Like, they know that if Israel wants to get to them, they can get to them. But for them to say, you know what? We finna hold it down. We're staying here. were not making these statements, it says a lot about what they were willing to put on the line for what they believe in. And I respect it. You know, our politicians could learn from them, especially these Congress members. Bibi needs the war to stay in power and not go to jail. Baby, I hope they put him under the jail.
This isn't the rogue actors. The worst part about this actually is the rogue actors who do commit these acts. They end up revered, celebrated, even later becoming prime ministers of the country. So let's walk through some of these acts of terror. Starting in 1947, actually it starts before that, but in 1947, I just want to paint this picture for you. Israel sent a letter bomb to President Harry Truman. Yes, Israelis tried to kill an American president.
This is our friend? This is our ally? I'm confused. I've never had a friend threaten to unalive me.
Zionist terrorist group called Lehi, also known as the Stern Gang, sent a letter bomb to Truman at the White House, and the bomb was intercepted by White House staff. No one was killed, but the message was loud and clear. Support British control of Palestine and we'll kill you. That's how extreme these groups were, even willing to attack.
Jamal, this is in reference to that surprise attack on June 13th. You know, so it was the day after, you know, they had the 60 days. It got to the 61st day. And then Israel, you know, bombed Iran. But I genuinely don't think they thought they were going to do that. These people were in their homes. So, you know, clearly Israel had the intelligence. There has to be people inside the country, but they clearly had the intelligence to know where these people were and to get them at their houses. Boy, you are funny. Okay, y'all hit the you get on my nerves. Y'all hit the like button, please. Y'all know I'm trying to grow my channel. Share my videos if you care. I appreciate y'all.
Attack the very country that would soon become Israel's biggest patron. And you wonder, how did they become Israel's biggest patron and greatest ally? Is it because they use these sorts of terror tactics? We're supposed to believe that these are freedom fighters, that these are our allies. Members of the Stern Gang, by the way, including Yitzhak Shamir, who helped plan these attacks, went on to become leaders in Israel's government. Shamir became prime minister of Israel in the 1980s.
If you look,
not he's a gangster and he's a prime minister.
If you've never broken a single bone.
From 1944 to 1948, before Israel was officially a state, these Zionist militias unleashed numerous terror attacks against British officials, murdering them in cold blood. These groups declared open war on British authorities. Why? Because Britain was seen as the main obstacle to Jewish statehood under the British mandate in Palestine. So what did they do? They assassinated.
And Britain gets a lot of blame for why the state of Israel was established. People try to make it seem like this was the British agenda. And it's not giving that. It's very much giving they did what they had to do to stay alive. That's what it's giving.
British diplomats. They killed off Lord Moyne in Cairo in 1944. They sent letter bombs to multiple British politicians in 1947. They kidnapped and hung two British sergeants, booby-trapping their bodies with explosives. They blew up British intelligence offices in multiple cities. This wasn't battlefield combat. This was targeted political violence. Even Winston Churchill called it what it was, a new form of terrorism. And again, many of the men involved in these terror campaigns were never punished. They instead became heroes of the state. Menachem Begin, who led the Irgun and oversaw several of these attacks, became prime minister in 1977. Do you see a pattern? Then came one of the most infamous acts of Zionist terrorism, the bombing of the King David Hotel in Jerusalem on July 22nd of 1946. The Irgun, under the leadership of Menachem Begin, bombed the hotel, which housed British administrative offices. They killed 91 people, Jews, Arabs, Brits, civilians, hotel staff, random guests.
So again, I'm supposed to feel some type of way or be moved when people call me anti-Semitic, when this has absolutely nothing to do with them caring about Jewish people, the state of Israel, because when they want to use Jews as collateral damage, they don't care. They don't care about the fallout. They don't care if Jewish people are affected. This is about people who are in power over that country maintaining their power. That's it. It has nothing to do with Jewish people and the religion, the Jewish religion, none of that. White House staff says Nettie and his wife bring their bags and bags of dirty laundry and order the staffers to clean it in. Yuck. I know them draws be funky. Ugh. I don't know. People that do this type of stuff gives their pH balance is off. That's what it gives. These people are sick. Yeah, very sick. Britain and France do deserve a lot of blame. They are colonizers and made contradictory promises. Oh, okay. So I'm talking about with this particular situation with Israel. You understand? Like, yeah, Britain had colonies and whatnot. Honestly and truly, I don't care about none of that no more. Because I don't care about nothing that happened. That kind of stuff is like, what are we going to do about it now? All that stuff that happened a long time ago. To the Kurds, Turks, Israeli settlers, as well as Palestinians. Ew, Sarah Netanyahu panties. Yeah, she give dirty, funky gold digger. She giving, she'll bust it open for a couple racks. Sorry.
They called in a warning. British authorities said the call came too late or not at all. But even if they had called ahead, I mean, let's be honest, you can't just make blowing up a hotel, okay by phoning it in. This wasn't an isolated mistake. It was part of a broader campaign of terror. And no one went to jail. Nope. In fact, they went into government. So fast forward to 1953. So now Israel's officially a state. It has an army, largely because of these terror tactics. It now has a flag. So what does it do? It sends Ariel Sharon, the future prime minister, across the border into Jordan, into a village called Quiba. His unit demolishes 45 homes, kills 69 civilians, including entire families who were sleeping. This was retaliation for a single Israeli woman and her children who were killed by Palestinians. The world condemned it. The UN condemned it. Even parts of the Israeli government condemned it. But Sharon wasn't punished. He was promoted and celebrated. And that tactic, collective punishment through fear, became the template for how Israel responds to every single aggression against them, as we've seen since October 7th. Just 1 year later, Israeli intelligence recruited Egyptian Jews to plant bombs in cinemas, libraries, and Western-owned buildings in Cairo and Alexandria. And the plan was to...
So y'all know what I'm worried about too? So y'all know we had open borders for the longest, for the past 4 years. And it didn't dawn on me to think about whether or not Israel had planted sleeper cells. See, we keep talking about Iran, but it's very much possible that Israel has sleeper cells in the United States. And we don't know if Israel has gotten on the phone with Trump and been like, yeah, we have sleeper cells. And if you don't support this, all hell is going to break loose in your country. We finna be on go. We don't know if this was Donald Trump trying to protect the American people. Like, you can't put it past them at this point. We don't know the conversations that are being had behind closed doors. We can only speculate. But it is very possible that they have sleeper cells in the United States that would masquerade as if they are Islamic sleeper cells. But in all actuality, Israel placed them there. This is all speculation here. I don't have any confirmation. But based on what they said on those tapes, I'm not going to put it past them. It's been in reports for years and talked about in books. They all write when they leave. He owns the presidents of the past, future, unless someone stands up to him. Yeah, I hope Donald Trump gonna be the one. Israel has no sleeper cells. No need. They are very live cells. Okay. You said they get active. They real active out here. Okay, I understand.
Blame Egyptian nationalists, destabilized the Nasser government, convinced Britain to stay in Egypt. It was a false flag terror operation, planting bombs in civilian targets to achieve a foreign policy goal. It failed. The operatives were caught. The scandal rocked the Israeli government. But once again, no one went to prison. So you could see this pattern of terrorism against governments and their people has been a pattern, not one of self-defense, but of an agenda.
And that's why I called out certain YouTubers like Officer Tatum and certain YouTubers who are basically saying that for religious purposes, we need to be involved in this war. Who is paying you? I want to know, how much are you getting paid? Is the check worth it? Is the check worth the lives of innocent civilians? I want to know. Is the check enough to make you sleep at night that you are goading on mass unaliving? That's what I want to know. Because the Lord, God, he ain't got nothing to do with this foolishness right here. I'm going to tell you right now. God don't bless no mess. Didn't your granny tell you that? Okay.
Over the last 2 decades, Israel has launched campaigns of assassinations across Iran, car bombs, motorbike drive-bys, remote detonated magnetic mines, all targeting Iranian nuclear scientists, most of whom were civilians under international law. One was killed outside his child's school, another in morning traffic. They weren't armed. They weren't hiding. They were murdered as part of a broader psychological war. Work in this program and you're going to die. And it's not just foreign leaders, scientists, or civilians who become targets. Sometimes Israel turns on its own. In 1995, Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated by an Israeli extremist, not a Palestinian, but a fellow Jew, because Rabin signed the Oslo Accords, a peace agreement with the Palestinians. And the killer believed Rabin was betraying the Jewish people by conceding land.
What? Y'all know what's so crazy to me? How you can decide that you're going to settle on land that somebody else is already in, okay? Then you expect them to be okay with that. Then you expect them to be okay with you snatching their houses. Let me tell y'all something. When I used to be a teacher in the United States last year, my best assistant principal, she was over me, like she was directly over me. She was a Palestinian woman. When I tell you she was smart, and she's a Muslim woman, she was smart, she was very well spoken, educated. She was a lawyer when she was in Palestine, and her family moved here. She still had family back there, and she told me that the Israelis confiscated her childhood house and they could not go there anymore. And when I tell you, this was one of the sharpest, most competent, but also most compassionate, kindest person I ever met. Like I've never met anybody like her in life. And I'm supposed to think these are all bad people and that they deserve to get their houses and their land snatched. That was a deep state hit job. Rip Rabin, him and Clinton were my guys back then. I'm going to show y'all this clip of Bill Clinton in a minute. How does she even get time on YouTube? Wow, Democrat. Who are you talking about? Are you talking about me? I'm not a Democrat. What are you talking about? That's the problem with being indoctrinated. That's the problem with being indoctrinated. Maybe you're not on ignorant perspective. I don't care what you think. That's the problem with being indoctrinated. Because you think everything is one-sided and there's no nuance and you don't analyze each situation on a case-by-case scenario, then when you hear somebody that has a differing perspective than yours, you automatically want to place them on a team or an opposing side of you. You automatically want to classify me as a Democrat just because I don't support the United States going to war with Iran over Israel. Clearly, you're new here. Clearly, you don't watch my videos. And you want to call me ignorant, but you don't do your research. You don't know me. And you're over here calling me a Democrat, a Democrat. Furthermore, even if I was that, which I'm not, how do you think that you are proving your point, winning me over, or changing my mind by calling me a childish name like we are in the first grade? You're not. Whatever. I would love to debate you. I would make you look silly. You have already made yourself look silly. I'm not giving you any more attention. You have made yourself look profoundly dumb. This is why you need mods. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind people offering a different perspective than me, but there's a difference between offering a different perspective and being disrespectful, right? Saying things that aren't true and being disrespectful. But at the end of the day, I'm just addressing you. I don't care. Feel free to say what you want to say in the comments. You're gonna be talking to yourself. Thank you for the view. I really do appreciate the engagement. Maybe this will help people come watch my live. What's up, Nicole? Mariah definitely calls it fair. Thank you so much, Nicole Washington. Yes, and she's been watching me for a while. Y'all know on this channel, I call it down the middle. I call a spade a spade. And that's why I tell y'all I'm an independent that leans conservative, but there are of many things I agree with Democrats on still, but for the most part, I find myself, because the left has changed so much, things that are like conservative perspectives now were like liberal perspectives 15 years ago. So, not Mariah might be a closeted right winger, Jamal. What? Well, no. I'm not closeted. I'm an independent. I lean conservative. But the only reason why I lean conservative is because the left has left me. And I've explained this before, y'all. The left has left me. The party has changed so much. There's so much I don't agree with. But y'all know I was a Democrat for a very long time. But like all the foolishness that has gone on since 2016, I can't rock with it. So stuff that used to be common sense, for example, the MAHA movement, the Make America Healthy Again, that used to be a Democratic agenda. Like that used to be. Now you got the Democrats going against RFK. Like that used to be a questioning the safety of inoculations. Y'all know what I'm talking, them shots. That used to be a Democratic perspective. Like that used to, that was not a right-wing perspective. Things have just changed so much since 2016, COVID. Like the Democrats used to be the party of anti-war. It's just up is down and down is up now. Oh, thank you so much, Cha-Cha. Thank you. I appreciate you. Look, you were right on time, girl. You were right on time. And those demon rats are not the left. I'm the left. They are bureaucrats. Yeah, because there are a lot of leftist perspectives that I agree with. There are a lot. And it's a lot on the right that I agree with. That's what happens when you learn to talk to people and listen to them and their concerns as human beings. You become a reasonable person who's willing to change your mind upon being presented more information, different perspectives, and new evidence. You don't just pick a team and say, I'm going to stay here for the rest of my life, even though the dynamics have changed and shifted and different needs need to be met. Anything dealing with human society is fluid. Exactly. Guys, y'all please hit the like button if you're just now coming in.
So that tells you what you need to know. And what's worse, Benjamin Netanyahu, who was the leader of the opposition, had spent months inciting crowds against Rabin, appearing at rallies where protesters chanted death to Rabin, and he held up mock coffins. Netanyahu didn't pull the trigger, but he lit the fuse. And after Rabin's murder, well, we all know now, Netanyahu went on to become prime minister again and again and again. In any other country, a man who helped whip up that kind of hate wouldn't be rewarded with power. In Israel, he's become.
Imagine accusing an Islamic country like Iran of having a dictatorship regime, and like you won't leave office. You refuse to leave office. You're masquerading as if you are in a democracy, but you do whatever it takes for you to stay in power. Imagine accusing another country's leader of being a dictator. It's not making sense to me, y'all. Does that make sense to y'all? Okay.
The most dominant political figure of a generation. So when you hear that Israel threatened to murder top Iranian military officials and possibly their wives and children in what would otherwise be labeled a terror.
Hold on. I told you that. That's the problem. That is the problem, Cha-Cha. People put their entire identity into these labels. So they don't know how to switch gears when it becomes necessary and when it makes sense, because they see it as a personal attack on them. I've said this. This is the problem with Black people identifying with the Democratic Party, because if you are a Black person and you leave the Democrat Party and you become something else, especially a Republican, now you're no longer invited to the cookout, or now you're anti-Black, or you're Uncle Tom and you're self-hating. And it's like, excuse me, when did our rich cultural identity become synonymous with the Democrats? Tell me when this happened. And what have they done for us to have such lately? What have they done for us lately? Because y'all be wanting to go all the way back to the civil rights movement. No, it's giving Janet Jackson, what have you done for me lately that has improved my life in a tangible way? Because I don't care about all these little laws and acts that get passed if I can't see it shining through in my day-to-day and stuff that actually matters. What have they done for me to have such an affinity to them to where I'm completely unwilling to listen to somebody on the other side of the aisle? Because I can't name not one thing. As a matter of fact, the last 4 years, they made the lives of everyday Americans extremely hard economically. Kevin Gallagher, you're still a Democrat. Okay, I'm not gonna keep explaining myself. Of course he did that. Thank you, Peaky. Yeah, I'm not a cultist at all. Thank you, and I appreciate you recognizing that. Joe Biden did some for infrastructure and possibly something for student loan debt. Well, you know what? I'll give that to him. I will give that to him. I will say that. I will give credit where credit is due. I know people personally. Like, I had a couple teachers who were like, I woke up and my student loan debt was gone. Now, a lot of people on the right don't forgive and believe in student loan debt forgiving. I do not believe in cock blocking other people's blessings. Okay, so I'm happy for that. Did I get mine forgiven? No, but I'm happy for those that got theirs forgiven. So it is what it is. I ain't finna hate the player or the game. Okay. I don't feel no ways about it. I'm glad not to be invited to the cookouts. Yes, exactly. Like, I do not care. I do not want to be invited to the cookout and I have to behave like a robot and think and say and do what everybody else thinks, says, and does just to be accepted. What that's telling me is you don't like me. Okay. You don't like me, and that's okay. You don't gotta like me. What are you, Kevin Gallagher? I'm an independent that is conservative leaning, but I do agree with the left on certain things. And again, the only reason why I'm a independent that is conservative leaning is because things that used to be considered liberal ideas 20 years ago are now conservative ideas. Like the right in general, not everybody, some people have lost their minds on the right, but in general has now become the party of basic common sense. Like they understand who is and is not a woman. Like we don't have to have those discussions over here, you know. I'm a proud progressive. But regardless, let me be clear, everybody is welcome on my channel. I don't care if you're a libertarian. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're on the right. I don't care about any of those things. Can you back up the things that you say? That's all I care about. And at the end of the day, I am for working class people. I'm not just for working class Republicans or working class Democrats or working class libertarians or working class independent. I am for the working class people. I don't care what you identify as. That doesn't mean that I have to hate you or dislike you. I can disagree with you. I can call out the hypocrisies. I can call out things that I don't agree with, but I also have the right to agree when it makes sense. And nobody's going to make me feel like I have to pick a side about it. I think you have. Maybe stay and watch a little longer. Just don't troll and say stuff that proves you ain't been watching. Yeah, I think, and that's what I'm saying. People, y'all gotta learn how to observe people first. Don't get in your feelings and start reacting. Watch, listen, go watch other videos, stay a little longer. That's the human instinct for us to jump inside of our egos and go on like the attack and the defense. Like y'all gotta learn how to control that. And that's one thing that has helped me and my journey toward shifting perspectives, being willing to listen to people without getting up in my feelings.
Terrorist attack, don't be shocked. You can be outraged, you can be sickened, but don't be surprised because the historical record shows this is not new. It's part of a long, well-documented pattern. Target civilians, use fear, justify it as self-defense, elevate the perpetrators to political power, and label everyone else the world's greatest sponsor of terror. We would never tolerate this from any other country. If Russia did it, terrorism. If Hamas did it, terrorism. But when Israel does it, we call it targeted strikes, precision.
No.
Precision has nothing to do with it. Let's stop pretending. This isn't defense. This isn't justice. This is state-sponsored terrorism that gets rewarded and shielded and continues to be rewarded and shielded to this day. And I'm not saying, again, that other actors are innocent because they aren't, but we aren't funding those other actors and giving them carte blanche to do whatever it is they want. We aren't allied with them, with every single politician pledging their allegiance to them while waving their flag. We should have a crystal clear understanding of who is our greatest ally and what their modus operandi is. When you understand the past, you can understand the future. And this past, some of it not so distant, but very recent, of using terror tactics, shows us a pattern that we can expect. We can expect more terror attacks. We can expect more of these types of
Hold on, guys.
El valor más importante del proyecto es que tuviera un espacio de introspección.
Guys, if y'all are
method,
and please hit the like button
to reach their goal. We can expect this. Iran can expect this. The United States maybe should even be expecting this. Maybe could expect it. There's certainly a lot of people on social media who have a lot of suspicions about Israel and maybe perhaps their involvement in certain events that have gone on over the past. Some of them have been documented and confirmed, such as the USS Liberty. Others are speculative. People think that there was some involvement, perhaps the dancing Israelis. I'll just leave it there. Some people even claim that perhaps there was some involvement in the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt of Donald Trump. There's just no way that Thomas Crooks was that good of a shot to even get close to Donald Trump's head. Some people say, well, it wasn't that hard. It was a close enough range. The kid who couldn't even shoot 10 feet in front of him, that wasn't making the rifle club, somehow he was able to get enough training and be sophisticated enough to pull something like that off. And really where the suspicion lies is that there hasn't been any further investigation into it.
Ooh, I didn't even think
So
about
people look
that.
at-
So it could be possible. I'm going to stop playing this video now. It could be possible. This is all alleged. This is all speculation. It could be possible that Israel did have something to do with that. You know, so we don't know. And that's why I'm saying there's a reason why our politicians do whatever Israel asked them to do. Israel either has blackmail on them or they genuinely fear for their lives or their families' lives. Right. And they have much reason to fear for their lives because it's very clear that the Israeli government gets active. OK, Jamal says it's tough to be a right winger or conservative and care about working class because you have a pro-police, religious and pro-business perspective. Why is being pro-police not pro-working class? Because honestly and truly, from what I've seen in these states like California and what happened in Minneapolis, what happened to that city after George Floyd, you had Nick Shirley and them going and showing the crime rates, people going and stealing. In New York, they have that whole arrest and then release them the next day. Yeah, I'm not with that. I'm not with police being so scared to do their jobs or being so restrained that they are not protecting citizens. I'm just not. Has the police force been perfect? Have there been corrupt police officers? Absolutely. But you can check that and be pro-choice too. But I don't think as a society, I don't think we want to live in a society where the police are completely handicapped to where your neighborhoods become unsafe. I've seen what that looks like. So no, you absolutely can be pro-police and pro-working class. And let's remember, police officers are also a part of the working class. A lot of the stuff that they do in situations that they get involved in has to do with failed government policy. Like a lot of those unnecessary traffic stops and things like that, that has to do with quotas and pressure being put on them. I have a cousin who was a police officer. I have a Black cousin who was a police officer. So I'm never going to sit up here and be anti-police. I am anti-corruption, but I'm also anti-bad policies and anti-stress, additional stress being put on police officers that makes their jobs harder coming from the higher ups. So I absolutely believe in a police force. I'm a woman. I'm not going to ever say I don't believe in supporting the police because if something happens to me, I need to be able to call somebody. Or you know, I'm definitely not. Y'all remember Senator Kennedy? Find that clip. Senator Kennedy, he made that commercial and he was like, go call a crackhead. I'm going to pull that up since you said that, Jamal. Y'all give me a second. Y'all, this is going to be funny. Give me a second. Y'all, this was hilarious. This is a real life campaign that Senator Kennedy, he is currently in the Senate right now. He has some of the best one-liners. He's so funny. This was his campaign ad. Y'all, this man is off the chain.
Violent crime is surging in Louisiana. Woke leaders blame the police. I blame the criminals. A mom should not have to look over her shoulder when she's pumping gas. I voted against the early release of violent criminals, and I opposed defunding the police. Look, if you hate cops just because they're cops, the next time you get in trouble, call a crackhead. I'm John Kelly, and I approve this message.
That man said call a crackhead. Don't call the police, call the crackhead. Call a crackhead, baby. Since you don't like the police, call the crackhead. I ain't calling no crackhead. It's nothing they can do for me. Again, have the police, have there been corrupt police? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I can tell you about some of the police in my city, but I can also tell you many instances where police did me a solid one. I can also tell you many instances where police should have gave me a ticket and let me go. I told y'all that situation where the police really should have gave me a felony. I told y'all about that last time. I'm not going to retell the story. Well, I'll tell it again for those of y'all who weren't here. So basically, I grew up poor, y'all. So, and did things backwards. So I got a car and didn't have a driver's license because I couldn't afford driver's ed. And I have my driver's license now, y'all. So I got my driver's license, I think, at 21. But I did things backwards and got a car before I got a driver's license. I was in the parking lot. I backed into a truck and messed up their bumper. And I panicked because, first of all, I didn't have a license. And this was my first accident. So I left the scene. I then called the police while I was at my apartment and told them what happened. So they pulled up. The first responding officer, he was listening to me, and I'm crying because I'm panicking. His partner wanted to arrest me. He was like, well, you didn't care when you left the scene, like he was going in. But the younger officer, who was the first on the scene, so ultimately he had the final say. He felt really bad because he knew I was a college student. Do y'all know what that man did? He gave me the information of the people whose car I hit, and he said, pay those people, call them and pay them. And he didn't even give me a ticket. And I should have got a felony for leaving the scene. He didn't even give me a ticket. And I called those people and I paid them all $1,700 of their money back. Now, I was a broke college student, so I worked and I paid them every 2 weeks. Every time I got paid, every time I got my little $300 check from guests, I paid them their money until it was paid off. I love Mariah, but wait till I get on the panel one day and see how much we disagree. I'm gonna have to have an open panel. I might do one at the end of this. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not saying for sure. It depends on what time I get done. Bro, I don't know when the right started loving police. Neither the Panthers nor the white supremacist militia opposed the police. Go Trump. Okay, I'm here with you on that. I'm here with you on this right here. Okay, I support our president. We need, here's the thing. I'm gonna call him out when he's wrong or I don't agree with what he's doing because nobody's perfect. I don't understand why that has to mean that overall I don't support the agenda. We need community policing. No, let me tell you why we don't need community policing. Because in areas where there isn't much police presence, people aren't checking their own. People really aren't doing that. We can say we need community policing, but when people get an opportunity due to a lack of police presence, majority of the time when people get an opportunity to police their own communities and look out for people in their own community, they use that to their advantage, and they see that there's nobody around to do anything about the stuff that they do. So then instead of them taking this as an opportunity to police, they take it as an opportunity to cause terror and wreak havoc upon their own community. So no, I don't agree with that. And my uncle was a 30-year Cook County sheriff. I support the GDs more than the polices. I don't support none of that. Kennedy is great. He always trolls their stupidity. That man is hilarious. Yeah, I love me some Senator Kennedy. I love Louisiana people. I haven't met one person from Louisiana that I did not like. even if they were a little bit off their rocker. You know, they're a little bit off their rocker in Louisiana, especially down there in New Orleans, you know. But they're definitely sensible, down to earth people, and I love that about Louisianans. The Democrats oppose the police. Yeah, I believe there's a balance to be had. I don't believe in throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Unions are the problem. Okay. From Casey, retired in South Georgia. I know that's right. Okay. Now there was something else I wanted to show y'all. Somebody brought up Bill Clinton earlier. Well, let's see what Mr. Bill Clinton had to say about this Israel Iranian conflict. Let me share my Instagram page.
Mr. Netanyahu has long wanted to fight Iran because that way he can stay in office forever and ever. I mean, he's been there most of the last 20 years. But I think we should be trying to diffuse it. And I hope President Trump will do that. I hope anybody there will do that. We've got to stop. We got to convince our friends in the Middle East that we'll stand with them and try to protect them. But choosing undeclared wars in which the primary victims are civilians who are not politically involved one way or the other, just want to live decent lives, is not a very good solution. Do I think that we have to try to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon? I do. I tried at that, and we had some success. But we don't have to have all this outright, constant killing of civilians who can't defend themselves and they just want a chance to live. Mr.
Now, you know what? I respect what Bill Clinton said, and I respect how he handled that. He didn't take this as an opportunity to bash Donald Trump. Now, Mr. Clinton, we still want to know if you was on that island touching them kids. But still, I respect this perspective. And honestly, Bill Clinton has, he was a beloved president, but honestly and truly, you can tell that he differs from Hillary in a lot of ways. I honestly feel like if Hillary Clinton was in office during this whole debacle, y'all know she's a big war hawk. She'd be in total support of the propaganda and total support of Israel. But I respect that perspective because it was an appeal to peace and not an attack on President Trump. And that's what we need. We need a call, an appeal to peace. Now, I feel like out of everybody, it is MAGA's responsibility to hold Donald Trump's feet to the fire because he promised the people that voted for him that there would be no wars. So we need to be on him like white on rice, point blank, period. And I don't care who feels the way about it. Because what did he say? Promises made, promises kept. That's what he said. I didn't say that. That's what he said. So I have a right to say, Mr. President, sir, you promised no wars. I need you to stand on business. There's a balance, but the system was never designed to support the working class, and the police were formed to catch runaways. Okay, but we don't have slavery anymore, Jamal. There's no more slavery. So that's not even like, I get it. But we don't have slavery anymore. So that is not, no, like we don't have slavery anymore. The FBI was designed to catch bank robbers. Yeah, but that's not the only, because I'm sure they catch bank robbers still to this day. They got P. Diddy on trial now. But we have to deal with things for what they are today and not what it used to be. Used to be is like never been. I had a foster parent who told me that. When he would listen to like older men talk about the stuff they used to do, how they were the star football players and things like that, he would say used to be is like never been. You might as well have never been it. We have to deal in the reality of today. Okay, one other story. This has absolutely nothing to do with politics. Oh, hold on. What was Anna Kasparian saying? Hold on. I'm lying. Give me a second.
You're not going to silence my ass. You're not going to.
Oh, this is Anna Kasparian from TYT. She's talking about her stance on the Iranian-Israeli.
Silence my ass by invoking the Holocaust or calling me an anti-Semite. I don't give a shit. Okay, I see what's happening clearly. I'm going to speak up about it, and no one's going to shut me up. Period. End of story. We see what's going on. The entire international community sees what's happening. The Israeli government wants to genocide and ethnically cleanse Palestinians.
What
not
I
just
find,
from Gaza,
what I, okay,
but the
hang
West
on.
Bank too.
What
Look
I
at
find,
the terror they're dealing with.
What
in the
I
West
find
Bank.
amazing.
It's
What I find,
disgusting.
hang on. Hang on, Shabbat, please. Hang on. I want to go to Emily. What I find extraordinary, I genuinely mean this, is there seems to be either a lack of awareness of what the rest of the world is now beginning to feel about this, or a deliberate putting head in sand and saying it's not happening, we don't want to hear it. Because if I was an Israeli, if I was Jewish right now, it would be impossible not to be aware of how the world is beginning to feel about this, and that this has got out of hand. It's disproportionate. Too many children are being killed. There seems to be no end game for this whatsoever, other than, as Chabos has just said, getting all the Palestinians out, right? Which is clearly what Smodrich, the finance minister, wants to do. And clearly what other members of that cabinet agree with him about. I just don't get why there's no awareness or deliberately willful blindness towards the growing international opprobrium from people like me, right, who've been very supportive of Israel's right to defend themselves. But there's just no apparent, all there is a digging in and a sort of blind refusal to admit that anything the Israeli government is doing is wrong, when most people, including two Israeli former prime ministers, have said it's not only wrong, but criminal.
Baby, the world is sick of their antics. And I applaud Piers Morgan for using his platform to speak the truth and allowing truth to go forward. I don't agree with him on everything, but this I very much agree with him on. So yeah, all of that. And I said this before. I said this when I was talking about the left during this last election, when every time it used to be, now it doesn't work anymore. But every time you disagree with the left, people on the left, they'd be like, oh, you're a racist, or you're a homophobe, or you're a transphobe, or just, and it's like, no. People used to that used to hurt people's feelings when they used to do that. And then it just got to the point where it's like, okay, you can make me all that. Fine. I do not care. What else is new? I still feel how I feel, and I said what I said. And these emotional bullying tactics are no longer going to work in the face of facts. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Call it what you want to, baby. I'm going to say what I have to say. Okay. This last clip I want to show y'all, this actually doesn't have anything to do with politics, but I do think it was a very sad story. So, guys, I was doing not too long ago, before the demands kind of shifted, and I'm sorry to my audience who's been watching me for a while, and y'all were watching me for more of the social commentary, but y'all know I tried to get into politics a couple months ago, but I don't think my audience was really wanting to see that. But this is something I want to move toward. I can still talk about social topics and give y'all advice on social issues, but honestly and truly, there's more to life than what's going on the shade room. But I will talk about it when it matters and when there's a lesson to be learned from it. Do y'all understand? But I have so much more going on up in here than just that. And I feel like I want to show all sides of me, right? So there was this fitness influencer who was very well known. She had 7 kids, and she tried to leave her husband, and he unalived her. He unalived her and left her kids with no mother. So I want to show this to y'all. Give me a second. This is from It's On Site on Instagram. The title reads, Fitness influencer Gloria Zamora fatally pew-pewed by a strange husband during alleged confrontation over new relationships, leaves behind 7 children.
What led to a deadly shooting spree over the weekend in the IE. 2 people were shot and killed outside a shopping center, followed by an off-duty deputy taking out the suspected gunman.
And now it is news reporter Leticia Juarez is live in Fontana with new details on this story. Leticia.
Well, I'll tell you this, David and Giovanna, we've learned from police that at the time of that shooting, there was plenty of law enforcement in the area, most of them off duty, enjoying the night with their families. But unfortunately, they were unable to do anything about the shooting that took place just outside the sushi restaurant, telling us that it was a domestic violence situation where a woman in the process of getting a divorce was tracked down by her estranged husband, who then shot her and her date here in this parking lot.
We gain all this weight during our pregnancy because we're not taught how to properly eat.
Social media influencer and fitness coach Gloria Zamora inspired busy women.
Y'all, it's so sad because not that it matters, because all people matter. You know, it doesn't matter what you look like, but it's like she was so beautiful and obviously trying to make something of herself, was doing something with her life, taking care of herself. Very influential for her life to be cut short like this.
To get and stay fit, but behind the strength she exhibited on camera, her personal life was taking a hit. Zamora spoke out about her pending divorce to her thousands of followers just last week on the Horizon podcast. Instead of you being supportive,
ladies, y'all need to quit doing this, because this happened to another woman where she was an influencer. She was a TikToker. And she got on TikTok, and I forgot the lady's name. This was last year. She got on TikTok and she announced to the world that she was getting a divorce and saying how her husband was being a good sport about it. And like a couple days later, he unalived her. He just lost it and he unalived her. And I need y'all to understand, people get emotional, okay? When they think about getting left, when they think about the time they put in, when they think about having to sleep alone at night, when they think about somebody else sleeping with you. So that's when you're in the most danger, when you're leaving. And it seems like this is something like women tend to do the most. And this is why I say, ladies, quit doing that. When you are going through a divorce, do not get on the internet and talk about it while you're going through. If that's something you talk about it, you need to talk about it years later, once that man has had the opportunity to cool off and get out of his emotions. And this is not me blaming her. This is not me saying this is her fault. This is me telling y'all ladies to move smart, because once you trigger somebody's ego in the midst of a divorce, you are putting your life in danger. When somebody feels embarrassed in front of the whole world, you don't know how they're going to react. This is not safe. And I want y'all to stay safe out here in these streets.
Over here trying to just bring me down. On Saturday night, the 40-year-old alongside 43-year-old Hector Garduno was shot and killed outside a Fontana sushi restaurant.
There was a male and a female that were estranged. They're going through a divorce that led to this.
Investigators say Zamora's estranged husband, Thomas Alberto Tamayo Lizarraga, gunned down the two in the parking lot.
We don't know how he knew where she was at, but apparently she had been at the restaurant for approximately an hour prior to the shooting.
The shooting caught the attention of several off-duty law enforcement officers in the area who responded to the sound of gunfire, including an off-duty San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputy.
Apparently he was driving on the street outside of the shopping center and heard the gunshots and saw what had happened, made a U-turn at the light and got out of his vehicle to confront the suspect.
Lizarraga was shot and killed during the confrontation.
Sad.
In a GoFundMe page set up for Zamora, her daughter stated that her mother was murdered by her stepdad.
Wow.
Both victims leave behind children. Zamora, a mother of 7, is described as a woman who uplifted others, while Garduno is remembered as a hardworking and devoted father of 4 girls. Now, we spoke to police about the ongoing investigation. They are gathering information. As for the off-duty deputy, they are not releasing his identity at this time. We can also tell you that according to the National Domestic Hotline, Women in the process of leaving or separating from their intimate partner are most at risk for domestic violence. Reporting live here in Fontana.
And that's what I'm saying. Y'all be thinking it's a game. I don't think. Here's the problem with people. You expect that because you're ready to leave, somebody is ready to accept it. Don't do that. That is stupid. You need to always operate under the assumption that you are in danger. And this goes for a lot of men too. Anytime you decide to leave a relationship, let me tell you what you need to do. Especially if it's a situation where that person has shown themselves to be jealous, possessive, or violent towards you, you need to wait. This is what I would do. If I'm a woman, let me tell you what I would do. And I want to leave a man, this is what I would do. I would pay for him a trip. This is not like, I'm not trying to be funny. I would say, hey, you've been working so hard. I would try to arrange for him to go on some type of trip out of town. Maybe suggest that he go out of town with his boys to Colombia, because you know they gonna come to Colombia and they gonna buy kitty cat. You know, they come down here to buy prostitutes, but you don't let him know that you know that. Suggest Colombia or the Dominican Republic or something like that. Now, in his mind, he gonna be like, yeah, I can go down there and buy some cat and come back home like nothing ever happened. He gonna think that you dumb. That's fine. That's okay. Let him think that you dumb. So let him set up his boys' trip. And while he's out of town, you need to know that when you are leaving, you have to move. Like, you have to pack your stuff and you have to move. And you need to make sure you have friends or family or somebody there to protect you. You need to get very far away in an undisclosed location. And then you need to call the person and let them know. And it sounds messed up. But you cannot play about your safety. You cannot play about your safety. Then you need to tell the person, hey, especially if it's a situation again where the relationship's been on the right, they've been very violent, it's been volatile. You just don't know how somebody's going to react. And that sounds crazy. Ideally, you would be able to sit down and tell people face to face that you don't want to be with them, and they accept it and they allow you to move on in peace. Another thing that folks need to stop doing, I know y'all don't want to hear this, and again, this is not victim blaming. This is me telling you to accept the basic truths of human nature. Stop dating right after you announce that you want to get a divorce and in the midst of a divorce. Stop doing that. It's dangerous. People act a fool and do things you never thought they would do and behind their feelings. You can't tell somebody you're getting a divorce from them in June, and then in July, they see you dating somebody else. Especially if you've been with that person for years, their mind is going to go to, oh, you've been cheating, or you're leaving me because you want to go sleep with other people. Like, this is what people call crimes of passion, and it's not justified at all. People who do that need to be put under the jail, but you need to be smart. You need to move safe. I just saw this earlier today. Yeah, stop putting all your business on the internet. Move in silence. And again, you got to know when you're talking about other people, especially when the situation is fresh, their emotions are going to be involved. Y'all, stop doing that. Stop doing that. You know, I want y'all to be safe out here. With that said, well, you know what? Does anybody want to come up here? You know what? I'm going to drop the link in the chat. I don't have long, but I will drop the link in the chat. Anybody who wants to come up here and say something, I'll give you like a couple minutes to come up here and say something. You can give your opinion. You can agree or disagree with anything I said today. You can clarify something that you said in the chat. So the link is in the chat. For those of y'all who are watching, please hit the like button. That helps people know that I'm on live. So I've dropped the link in the chat. You don't have to cam up. Of course you have to mic up. We got to hear you. But you don't have to cam up, because I know some of y'all are at home and you know you're kicked back already. Maybe you've had a bath, you put your bonnet on, your pajamas on. But if you would like to come on here and just speak, you can do that. So I'm gonna give it a minute, and then if nobody comes up, I'm gonna get off. Jamal says, I'll let somebody get on first. Okay, Jamal, like after a minute, if nobody gets on, I'm gonna let you pop on. Yeah, but this has been interesting to say the least. I'm very interested in how the situation with Iran and Israel will play out. But you know, who knows at this point? What I will say is like we should have a let's wait and see attitude about it. People need to stop. Oh, I told you this, or I told you that, or he was or this is and that, and like the left and the right exchanging blows back and forth. Like at the end of the day, people's lives are on the line. So yeah, this is no laughing matter, honestly and truly. And you know, the American people really, we cannot afford another war. Honestly and truly, this isn't about left or right. This is about what we have the wherewithal to withstand, and the American people have war fatigue. We're dealing with a bad economic situation that we're not completely out of the woods for yet. We got to immigrate. Oh, I didn't talk about immigration. I'm sorry. I put that in the description. I know some of y'all were probably waiting on that. I got to stay on now because I didn't talk about it. I'm going to get to it then. Sorry, y'all. Okay. I lied. We're not doing a panel tonight. Sorry. Well, Jamal, stay on. Stay on. Let me get to immigration. So for those of y'all who don't know, there was a Supreme Court ruling put forth. So y'all know Donald Trump was basically deporting people to countries that were not their country of origin. And the reason why he was doing this was not just because he felt like it or he wanted to be mean or cruel. No, he has a mandate from the American people that he needs to be doing mass deportations of illegal immigrants. I mean, that just is what it is. And he's not taking no for an answer. Okay. Here we go. This is on YouTube. So basically what he did for countries like a lot of countries like Venezuela are just refusing outright to take their people back, right? So it's a situation where these countries feel like they're gonna force the United States hand to keep illegal immigrants in our country and allow them to continue doing what they've been doing, or give them some type of path forward to citizenship, when that's not fair. We already have people in line that have applied for citizenship legally or who are still waiting on visas, who remain in their country and are waiting their time and paying their dues. So that's not fair, especially if it's not a situation where you fell under DACA. Y'all know I support a path forward for the people who, the children who came 20 and 30 years ago under DACA, who were basically Americans. They've never known any other country, right? I think that's a completely different situation. So Donald Trump was very smart. He negotiated with other countries, and the country said, sure, send them over here and we will prepare a place for them and we will prepare to integrate them into society. Well, of course, this was challenged in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court made a decision. So let's look at it. Oh, I'm sorry. Y'all cannot hear this. My bad. Okay, so this is on. Hold on. This is not the channel I want to share. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this was from NBC News today. Hold on, let me start this over. So basically, the Supreme Court said he can do this. So, I mean, there should be no further discussion about Donald Trump deporting illegal immigrants to other countries or even to El Salvador. I mean, I remember they made a big deal because he deported an El Salvadorian citizen to El Salvador who was a criminal in the United States and committed crimes. And the El Salvadorian president took him back and put him in the Salvadorian maximum security prison. And they were like, Americans were like, we need to bring him back. And the Salvadorian president Bukele was like, no, he's my citizen. Actually, you can't have him back. What are you talking about? What are you talking about here? This is my citizen. I'm not giving him back. So the ICE raids are still continuing. Give me a second. Let me pull up. Let me go on Cash Jordan's channel. Okay, so apparently ICE is doing things like raiding trailer parks, raiding supermarkets. So Cash Jordan, I don't know if y'all watch him, but if you don't, you should. He made a video about them raiding a supermarket. Some people don't agree with this. They feel like ICE should be arresting people, but I don't know where. Like, if you can't arrest them at work, if you can't arrest them at school, you can't arrest them at church, you can't arrest them in jail, arrest them in traffic stops. When is it appropriate to arrest an illegal immigrant? For those of y'all who support illegal immigration, or you might not support it, but you feel like ICE should be more selective in where they pick the illegal immigrants up, where should they arrest them? What is an appropriate situation and scenario where ICE can arrest them? Please tell me. I don't know. Y'all tell me, because y'all aren't giving us any feedback. Y'all are just complaining about the places where they're getting arrested, but you're not saying where are the appropriate locations for them to be arrested. I would really like to know that. Okay. Let me share my screen. Give me a second. So this is from Cash Jordan's channel here on YouTube. And the title is ICE Wipes Out Supermarkets Deporting Every Single Migrant.
Do any of these comments look familiar? Yeah, same. But do any of these people actually...
ICE conducts massive raid near a supermarket. What's this about? Whoa! Oh my goodness. What is going on here? What?
Immigration protesters and federal agents facing off in Bell during one of the many immigration sweeps across the LA area.
That guy's got a
Mike
paintball
Rogers,
gun.
Mayor Bass saying tonight that federal agents being masked.
Of course, it's LA. It's LA. What do we expect here?
Armed and often in unmarked vehicles is creating a climate of fear and mistrust.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's clash.
The reason why they're in unmarked vehicles is because when they pull up in marked vehicles, the people run away. And not just that, like, their vehicles are being attacked. People want to gather around, don't want to allow them to do their job. They cause trauma. So, like, they can't pull up in marked vehicles and they can't pull up in unmarked vehicles. Like, whichever way they pull up, y'all are coming with the drama. So it really don't matter at this point. They pull up how they pull up.
With these unmarked vehicles and these federal agents, many of which we don't know what agency they're even coming from. We'll show you.
These people have lost their minds. And the reason they want to unmask these agents is so that they can try to take them out when they're not on the job. It's terrible.
And the protest that happened today, this is in Bell. There was also
when they see the agents pulling up with masks, the reason why the ICE agents have these masks on is because, first of all, they're doing their job. They are hired federal officials. They're regular American citizens just like you and I. They have families to take care of. They're hired to do a job, and they're doing their job. They're not harming anybody. All they are doing is rounding people up who are not supposed to be in the United States and sending them back to their home country. That's it. Well, they're just rounding them up so that they can be detained, and then they can go through the process of getting back to their home country. And the United States is being so kind as to pay for these people's flights home. In many situations, these people are getting money to go restart their lives in another country. So, like, nobody, like, if Colombia deported me today, they would not send me back to the United States with any money. I just want to let y'all know that. Like, that's very kind and generous of the US government, right? And again, I understand it's unfortunate. It's sad. A lot of times people get to know these people. If I got to know a coworker and they were here illegally and they got deported, I would feel sad and I would feel bad. I wouldn't be outside protesting ICE because at the end of the day, you knew your status when you came here. But like, I feel sad on the sense that, like, I know you and I think that you're a cool person, but it's like you knew the risk that you took when you came here. Like, you knew what came with it. So no, I am not about to risk going to jail, being outside trying to battle it out with ICE, boo. Not doing it. Police in Mexico wear masks, but a lot of them are as dangerous as the cartels. Yeah, I mean, my whole thing is people are like, show your face, show your face, show your face. That is the stupidest thing that they can do. Again, it's not just about them. They have families they have to protect because some people are just complete psychopaths out here.
Issues in Maywood as well after immigration officials moved in to do a sweep. Now, the Department of Homeland Security paints a story where their agents were attacked. They say their tires were sliced. They say one of their vehicles even damaged. There you see.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Vouching for them, I agree with you, Jamal. Vouching for them is different than like protesting ICE. Vouching for them looks like maybe I show up to their immigration hearing, or maybe I offer to, like, okay, let's see if they can go back and then I can try to like sponsor them, because you can sponsor people. You know, like there are ways, if you really just care about it, that you could try to offer some assistance. But to like just be outside wreaking havoc, no ma'am, no sir. Hi, King of Kofi. I hope I said that right. These are some interesting topics for my first drink to catch. Oh, why? Thank you. I try to keep it interesting. I try to keep it hot and spicy. Thank you for pulling up.
Some federal agent, or even potentially National Guard hanging out the side of the window there, but all of them coming through in unmarked cars. We noticed that from SkyCal as well. SkyCal even was able to get a picture of a bear cat moving through the streets. That is obviously a police or law enforcement type vehicle, but even that didn't have any markings on it for us to be able to identify where exactly it came from. Here's more video of SkyCal and those unmarked cars that we were talking about. That makes figuring out who's doing what a lot more difficult. And it also means these things are popping up very quickly and out of really nowhere. They're hard for us to track down immediately until you have scenes like this where protesters begin to get involved. I want to show you some video here.
Okay, the reason they're hard to track down and the reason they pop up out of nowhere is because if these operations aren't a surprise, the criminals ICE is after, who are heavily armed and dangerous, are gonna escape.
The damage that the Department of Homeland Security says was done to the Customs and Border Protection cars and trucks. You see.
Wow. I wonder if anybody went to jail for that. You gotta be one bold mofo to try to bash in the windows of ICE's cars and vehicles. Like, that's insane. Like, that's federal charges there.
Damage to the windows
They
there,
attacked their
both the
vehicles.
sides, the backs. They also say one of their cars was totaled as a result of a civilian slamming into the side of it. There you see the damage there.
I wonder if that was on purpose. Who purposely rams their car into another car? A psychopath. That's what it's giving. These people are not well.
Calling that totaled. As a result, they say several tires were slashed as well. Even in one of the videos, we heard one of the protesters thanking another protester for slashing those tires. Tonight, the Department of Homeland Security is saying once again.
I mean, okay. First of all, I said earlier, I don't have a problem with government officials or law enforcement. I have an issue when some of them do things that they're not supposed to do, but like in general, like I would never do something like this. Like let's say you don't like government officials or law enforcement. Why would you put yourself in their way? Like if I don't like you, I want to stay far, far away from you. I don't want to willingly get myself involved in a situation where I have to deal with you or confront you. Do you understand? These people are putting themselves in harm's way and then will be the main ones crying police brutality. And it's like, no, you're literally like ramming into their cars. Are you crazy? That's like not you, Jamal, but like the people who are doing this, that like you're literally trying to cause bodily harm. And these same people will be like, oh, the police this or the police that, and it's like, well, just stay away from them. Stay far, far away from them. You know, the only people who need to be reacting like this, and even then I don't agree, because the audacity of you to be here illegally and then get mad when you get picked up, the audacity of you to have walked all the way here knowing you were coming illegally and thinking that nobody was going to ever do anything about it, and then get mad when you have to deal with the consequences. That is a whole lot of audacity. That is a hell of a lot of audacity. You know, the only ones who I can understand getting upset were the ones who were brought here when they were really young and they've been here for 20 or 30 years. It's kind of like you didn't have a choice. But like for the rest of them, that is a hell of audacity. But those are the only people who I could see it make it sense that they attack police cars and stuff, because I mean, I guess you mad because you going home. You don't got nothing to lose, no way. But American citizens doing this, it baffles me. It truly does. That Super Bowl boldest thing I've ever seen is somebody pee on a squad car when the police went to get coffee. Wow. It's crazy to think how segregation ended not too long ago and how the blacks handled protests compared to the illegal immigrant protests today. Yeah, like during segregation, and like black people were actual, I'm glad that you brought that up though. Black people were actual citizens, and I'm so sick of, did y'all hear, what is that, Anna Navarro? She's a Republican. Like, I am so sick. I've been seeing this lately, people saying that like black people need to be supporting, you know, illegal immigrants because like we're immigrants too. And it's like, no, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're, and I'll say, and I'll say, like, you know, my mom's black, my father's is white, so they did come over here as immigrants during like the 1890. That's when they came over here. So yes, they did come over here as immigrants, legal immigrants, a long time ago when immigration policy was different in the United States. Okay, when we needed that labor over here for the factories. Okay, so that's a whole nother conversation. And you know, my family has been here for so many generations. Like I can't even trace it. You know, on my mom's side of the family, they were brought here as slaves. That is not the same thing as illegal immigration. You know, America imported black people. So I don't understand why they think that black people should see the connection there. Like we should identify with illegal immigrants. It kind of seems like for some there's some type of weird built up animosity. Like, why do we get to stay here and they don't? And it's like, boo. What are you talking about? Again, black people were imported here willingly by citizens of the United States. And even before it was even its own country, black people were here. Okay. And let's be clear, black people built the very foundations of a lot of this nation. Did we build everything? No. But we built a lot. I like to be fair because we can't take credit for everything, black people. We can't take, the Chinese people primarily built them railroads. So we can't take credit for everything, you know, but we built a lot of this country up, especially the South, especially the economy of the South. So yeah. Big difference. One of my boys did. Anna Navarro is such a rhino now that Trump is in office. She is deep state for real, just a media bureaucrat, a true defender savior of the system. Yeah, she's so annoying. Right. It's wild the audacity the illegals hold. Like, yes, that is pure audacity. And like, it's like, why would you think that Black people would get behind that message? Why would you think Black people would listen to that and not get offended? Like, are you serious? I don't even like it when illegal immigrants are being compared to legal immigrants that are here, like new legal immigrants, because it's not the same. They came different ways. Stop throwing them all in one bucket. But to try to throw like slavery in that same bucket, that is wild. That you have to do a lot of mental gymnastics to come to that conclusion. I'm just saying. Yet she hated everything Obama did. She's so foo-foo clown a lady. Yeah, she's weird.
And if you have any issues or where you were allegedly attacking federal agents, you will be held accountable. Today, they did arrest one person, the driver of that car that hit the SUV there from the Border Patrol.
Good. So a driver rammed their personal vehicle into federal.
That sounds like an attempted unaliving charge.
Agents while they were conducting a raid? That's crazy. This is the same area, and here they are going nuts at night. Look at this.
¿Sabías que hoy las grandes ideas no necesitan una oficina? Solo necesitan personas con visión.
For what? To send a message? Call the Mexican flags everywhere. People do burnouts. These people don't care if their entire society shuts down just so they can tell the federal government to leave.
Fight is not over, and neither are the raids, with ongoing reports of.
And I understand, I love Mexican people. I do. I grew up in Texas. I love Mexican people. I even love the illegal Mexican immigrants. Honestly and truly, I grew up with a lot of these illegal immigrants' children. And that's how I know a lot of them are as American as apple pie. So I do support a path forward for those who are currently covered under DACA. Now, no new applicants. I do think we got to do right by them. So I love Mexican people. They have contributed heavily to the culture in Dallas and Texas. And let's be clear, a lot of Mexican people have been there. Like, they were never immigrants. Like when the United States bought Mexico after the Mexican-American War, those people didn't pack up and go to Mexico. They stayed where they were, and a lot of them just became U.S. citizens that way. Okay, they stayed in California. So like that culture is very rich in places like California and New Mexico and Texas. So I have a deep affinity towards Mexican people and the Mexican culture. With that said, boo, this ain't it. This ain't it. This ain't it. This ain't it.
ICE teams chasing and detaining people in immigration operations all over the region. Dozens arrested outside a Home Depot in Hollywood. Wow. And according to witnesses, a pregnant woman working as a food vendor was among those taken away. So the agency is working to increase detention capacity, arranging to convert a former prison facility in California City, which is about an hour north of LA. An opening date has not yet been announced, but the site will be able to house nearly 2,600 detainees.
You know what? I hear what you're saying, Jamal. So Jamal says, honestly, I want this new wave of migrants gone. But if them and ICE and federal police get into it, I'm still cheering on the people irrespective of their status. Like I said earlier, I have a cousin who works in law enforcement. I would hope nobody would do him any bodily harm just because he's doing his job. I would hope that. So I'm never going to say that, you know. I'm never going to say that. And again, I'm from Dallas. A lot of the police officers in Dallas, DPD, are really cool. A lot of them are really cool. They let people make it. They help people a lot of the time. We have a really diverse police force, and they've been through a lot. I remember, was it during the whole situation with George Floyd, and a sniper unalived several DPD officers. Do y'all remember that happened in Dallas? And DPD got to be one of, they're not LA, they're not like LAPD. DPD is actually very, very cool. And I have a cousin that works for that police department. So no, I'm not supporting foolishness. That rocked the city when they, and it's not just that. Since then, last year, somebody unalived a police officer in Dallas who, by all accounts, was like genuinely a very good person, you know. And a lot of this is connected towards like race and racism. This was a black cop, so people try to make it seem like, oh, all these cops are like racist, white people, which just because the cop is white doesn't necessarily make them racist. But it's like people are just, they don't care. They're unaliving cops just because they're cops, irrespective of race, irrespective of what kind of person that they were, irrespective of the work that they've done in their community. And I absolutely don't support that happening to any cop. If a cop is doing illegal things, then we need to call for them to be brought to justice. But like this street vigilanteism towards cops, especially when people don't have the whole story or they're just doing their jobs, I don't agree with it. You got to think, though, a lot of this is just a distraction. I don't know how deep you are into stocks. I'm not into it at all. But today, specifically, the market pumped hard, especially the processors companies, AMD, NVIDIA. I hope I said that right. I am completely ignorant to these things. One day I'm going to have to like bring an expert on to help you grow out. I'll ask the real ninjas in Dallas and the intellectuals how good the police are. People not going to tell the truth, though. People, here's the thing about people. I've seen cops let people make it that was wilding. And there are so many people who are not going to tell the truth about the time. They will talk bad about the cops, but they're never going to tell the truth about, dang, he really should have gave me a ticket, but he let me go and he was cool. You know, people aren't going to tell those stories because people prefer to tell the victim narrative, or people prefer to tell a one-sided narrative. Two things can be true. You could have negative experiences with cops, and you could also have had positive experiences with cops. But people like to make things seem one-sided. So no, they're not going to tell you. And again, a lot of people who are engaging in things they're not supposed to be doing, they're obviously going to talk shit about cops. And it's sad, a liberal state has the most corrupt police. Louisiana has very corrupt police and politicians. The police can be cool, but as an institution, I'm not down with them. Okay.
To become the state's largest migrant detention center. In their court opinion, the 3-judge panel concluded that the president likely acted within his authority in federalizing the National Guard.
That's got the activists so angry. The fact that the National Guard is allowed to go out there and keep normal people safe. Oh, they're just so upset about that. However, these sanctuary cities are willing to just shut themselves down completely to protect people who shouldn't even be in America.
New cell phone video coming out of Pasadena shows federal agents Saturday morning apparently looking to arrest undocumented migrants in and around Villa Park.
Everything happened in seconds.
Just moments later, Sandra Garcia says her mom, Carmen, who was selling tamales outside of the park, saw about 5 ICE agents pull up and arrest 4 men who tried to run when they noticed the federal authorities.
He tried getting into his car, but they came in and pulled it out as fast as they could. And
so 4 men ran immediately when federal agents showed up. Those were probably the people the agents were after. Why were they running if they're...
Side note, her mother looks like them tamales are banging. I know them tamales are fire. Okay, my bad, y'all. I ain't had Mexican tamales in so long.
Law-abiding and they haven't done anything wrong. Also, look at this woman and her mom. They didn't get deported. They saw the whole thing happen. Her mom was working outside. So here you have people that are in the country legally who don't understand how having criminals running rampant in their neighborhood is a bad thing. But wait till you see what this town is doing.
Meanwhile, Pasadena Mayor Victor Gordo saying this all happened just before youth soccer games were set to kick off, forcing the city to cancel swim lessons and park programs. The
Why?
mayor also taking issue with the lack of identity.
Why are they forced to cancel public programs that the people who live there have already paid for? These cities are willing to shut down if it means protecting criminals. Absolutely crazy.
Immigration enforcement can decrease the likelihood of a terrorist attack in the U.S. It's just one of many reasons it makes sense to know who's coming into the country and why. But for 4 years, the U.S. was flying blind. How vigilant should Americans be stateside, and whose job is it to make sure terror cells do not emerge?
Introducing Agora's conversational AI engine. Build and integrate your AI agent in
or activate here. What should Americans expect in the days and weeks to come? What are DHS and the Bureau looking for stateside in terms of something nefarious happening here?
Potential problem.
Well, sure. Look, the Department of Homeland Security, along with FBI and the intelligence agencies, are looking for any credible threats, any credible information that says something is going to occur here in the homeland. Absent that, and DHS has just issued an advisory today saying there is no credible information or threat. But
B18 Turner, don't come in my comment section with all that. Don't come in my comment section with that foolishness. Go find you something to do. Go get you some business, honestly and truly. I live in DFW and go out a lot. Never really had issues with cops ever. Yeah, DPD has way too much to do. They rather not be fooling with you. They really have a lot to do. They be having a police officers moving cars out of traffic and everything. They would rather not be being petty with you. I promise you, they got way too much to do. They just want to come to work and have a peaceful day. So you're right. Yeah, they're very cool. Now, if you go over there to Arlington, that's a whole nother story. Okay, but DPD is very cool, and most people from Dallas will probably tell you that. What? Okay, we are ignoring B18 Turner. You crazy? Yeah, Dan Mariah, you click your teeth a bunch when you talk. Okay. What user? There you go. You're banned. And it's not because I care like about what he had to say to me. It's like he's trolling y'all at this point. And I don't like racism. So don't come in my comments being racist.
But we need to be aware that Iran can obviously strike back. I think the most logical aspect for them to do that in is in a cybersecurity attack of some kind. It seems to be not as direct. They often hide behind different threat actors in doing that.
Interesting.
And we saw this in 2020 with the death of General Soleimani. So I think that's probably the most logical. There are cells here in the United States, such as Hezbollah and others, that they certainly could activate. I think that's going to be a little more aggressive. If they want to de-escalate, then you're likely to see some type of cyber attack.
So with these cells that are in the country, they've got to get their money from somewhere. And if the government in Iran is on the ropes or in trouble or needs money, that means less money for their actors who might be stateside because of our wide open border. Yet when you see these activists assailing federal officers who are trying to capture people who aren't supposed to be in America, you've got to wonder if what they're doing actually makes communities safer as they claim.
Do we have any idea, really any idea, who crossed the border and with what intentions during the Biden administration? I know Mike gave us some statistics about the number of Iranian nationals, but I mean, how close to being accurate do you think that is, given the fact that we were sort of flying blind for 4 years?
Sort of.
Yeah, look, the stark reality, Trey, is that we know very little about who crossed that border. The numbers that were shown obviously are the ones that we apprehended, right? But then there are millions of gotaways. These are individuals that pay the cartels a premium to smuggle them across the border so that they don't encounter law enforcement. Obviously, they're doing that.
Yeah, they don't want to be found.
So whether it's Chinese nationals, whether it's Iranians, whether it's cartel members or the like, what we saw over 4 years come across that southern border has been was disastrous, right? Over 400 individuals on the watch.
I mean, yeah, that's a lot of Iranians, but as I said earlier too, I mean, it's not just about Iran. We don't know where all of these people came from and what their intentions are. People haven't been properly vetted. And, that is why ICE needs to be able to do their job free of obstruction so that we can make sure that our country is safe. Point blank, period. Jamal, I know I said I was going to let you come on, but I'm actually very tired. I've been on here for a couple of hours, so I apologize. Next time I do a live, I'll try to schedule in some time for you to come on at the end. With that said, guys, I do need to, it's almost 10 o'clock here. I have to get up at 3 a.m. I need to cook. Guys, if you need coaching services, I do personal one-on-one coaching. My website is in the bio. I also do Spanish classes. And if you're looking to travel to Medellin, Colombia, and you need a travel buddy, you can book me on my website, ThePassportSis.com. Good night. For those of y'all who came in and watched and supported, I appreciate y'all. Please hit the like button on your way out, and good night to all.